So, I am part of the Sacajawea Audubon Society. We are in southwest Montana in the Rocky Mountains. It's Intermountain West. We are in valleys that are surrounded by mountains, kind of high valleys. We're about 5,000 feet, as this picture here. As John was saying the other day, we need two things for kestrels. They need lots of open country to hunt in with good prey base. That we have in spades. We have a lot of open grassland. What we are missing is the cavity trees. We have cottonwoods in our riparian zones, in our draws, in our low country down around rivers. But that is not always the best area for kestrels to be nesting in, or hunting in. It's not always the best prey base. So we're feeling that when we're putting boxes out here, we are providing cavities in places that we're probably not taking birds out of natural cavities. So we're probably increasing the number of cavities around. See how this works. So Bozeman, Montana, for those of you who don't know where it is, down the middle of the circle there, most of our boxes are right within that circle area. We're not far from Yellowstone Park, which is right in the corner here of Wyoming. On the maps that we saw yesterday of kestrel decline, Bozeman, Montana area is in the area of about 50% population decline. How this looks up. Okay? Everybody hear me okay? Yes. Okay? So we're in an area of 50% population decline. Not as bad as the Northeast, but again, still concerning. Bozeman became involved with the Kestrel Nest Box project in fall of 2012. And at that time, the American Kestrel Partnership came up to Bozeman, and with the help of our volunteers, they built and installed 40 nest boxes. It was kind of like having a project landed in our lap. And they asked us if we would be willing to monitor the boxes, collect data, send it in, and keep the boxes clean for them. And we said, sure, that's a great way to get going on this. So, results, as I've heard from other people, disappointing the first year. First year we had absolutely no kestrel use. That's a little tree swallow looking out of the box, not a kestrel. Second and third year, still very low occupancy rate. And we had to comfort ourselves with the fact that we were raising tree swallows, house wrens, mountain bluebirds, and of course we had to put up with a few starlings in the process too. I will tell you, we do not have the starling problem that the Northeast area has. We have starlings and they use a few of our boxes, but it's nowhere near as extreme as I've heard people tell stories about out here. This is the nest of a overachieving house wren. Can you imagine how long it took him to fill that box with that many little sticks? So we took a look at our nest boxes and habitats that were being ignored by the kestrels, and at first glance they seem to be suitable habitat. We've got open fields, we've got meadows, a few trees around that would attract them. They might be looking for nest boxes in these trees. But what we did find in common on all these boxes is that they were down near hay fields. And that could be alfalfa hay or just a natural grass hay. But by the, probably the middle or late June, that's probably 2 feet tall with thick, lush vegetation. I don't think that the kestrels are able to find prey in those areas that close, that dense of vegetation. And most of those areas are down low on the flat of our valley floors. The soils are fairly deep, or richer soils, and everything grows very lush down there. So fewer kestrels using that habitat. But we did have some success. And out of those few successes, we built upon things. We looked at it and we saw dry, short, sparse grass is what they seem to use, especially that habitat right there. It's always up higher in the rolling hills, up on the benches that are up off the valley floors away, closer to the mountains. So, with the help of our volunteers, we've been expanding our offerings and trying to focus in on the most targeted habitats that they seem to like. So high, dry, shortgrass prairies, some sage steppe habitats work best. We've got juniper draws in a few of these areas. Even some of these other boxes have junipers nearby. We have some grain fields around. Montana is known for raising a lot of winter wheat, dryland winter wheat. And even though that's a monoculture that the birds are probably not going to be able to hunt in, it does provide a lot of grain for rodents. And so when we put our boxes near a field, but also with some natural habitat for them to hunt in also. I'll say most of our boxes are about 5,000 feet, so we've got kind of high balance. So now we have 70 boxes up, and this past year we finally turned the corner. We had 9 boxes in use with kestrels, and feel like we're on the way to getting our occupancy rates up. This fall we've been moving boxes from our lowland areas near hayfields up into this higher dry sage country. And let's see, we're working with a couple of land trusts. We're partnering with land trusts that do conservation easements. We're talking with them, getting some ideas of what landowners might be in the area that would have a conservation easement on their land. They're probably going to be people that have an interest in wildlife in the first place. And so we approached them. They're much more amenable to having boxes on their land and allowing us to do some monitoring. Some of the landowners have been really good about monitoring the boxes for us too. So in our area, egg laying can commence kind of a wide or variable of time period. In 2015, they started early in late April, but last year, almost all of our birds nested in late May. So why is the difference? We don't really know. But what we did find interesting that in May, when our birds were just starting to lay eggs, the birds down in Boise, Idaho, at the Kestrel Partnership, they have a nest cam out there, and those birds were almost ready to fledge. So even though we're only 150 miles further north in latitude, we're very, very different in terms of the phenology of what gets going around our valley. And in Montana, springs can come really late, so our birds are nesting later. Start of incubation usually is in late May. We were waiting until the incubation was well underway before we went out and started our monitoring process. We wouldn't even go to the boxes before that. Now I'm finding out that it's really not going to cause too much disturbance, not going to cause abandonment of nests, so we'll probably be changing that. So that was good to hear from this conference. Hatching, some of the cutest chicks in the world there. Usually occurs in June. Fledging sometime in July to as late as August for us. And isn't that a classic adolescent teenager, not quite figuring out his way in the world yet. So this year, as we started to get successful nest boxes, the American Kestrel Partnership asked us if we would consider banding birds. And sure, we've got a master bander in our Audubon Society, and she agreed to do that. She had to get the permits for it, but we got a little slow of a start, but we did manage to capture 3 of the females on the boxes. We don't have a butterfly net technique. Instead, we have a plug on a pole technique, and that is a long PVC pipe with it's a frozen orange juice concentrate container, and just taped onto that PVC pipe with some really bright orange, pink duct tape, and it fits right in the hole and works really slick. And we sneak up on the box and shove that in. My favorite part of the project is getting to take the young out and handle them better. So in 2016, we had 9 occupied nests. 2 of them failed entirely. The 2 that failed were the last 2 that nested. They nested very late. They nested in June, first week of June, and both of those nests failed to hatch anything. We had 33 young hatched, 30 of those fledged, and we've got bands on 26 of the young. This little female is showing off her new bracelet here. We're also collecting body feathers for the Kestrel Genoscape project this year for the first time, and it was great to hear from Michaela yesterday and find out what work is being done with them. And you can see, this is our very first bird that we're plucking 2 feathers out of. A lot of care and concern about handling this little bird and pulling 2 feathers out of their breast. But it doesn't seem to hurt. I wanted to talk to you about our experiences with starlings. 50% of our nest boxes that had kestrels in them successfully nesting this year were on top of a substrate that had been brought in by starlings. So this box has got the wood chips at the bottom, but a starling has come in and put all this grass in there. And yet we've got a kestrel nesting, not a starling. So somehow she's outcompeted that starling. And in this particular box, I actually think we're seeing evidence of a starling addiction. Can you see all the little black feathers in there? There's black feathers scattered all around through there, and again, it's on grass material that's been brought in by the starlings. I think that we had a big battle in this box, similar to the one that the American Kestrel Partnership had in their nest camp a couple of years ago. And at that time, a starling had been in the box, a kestrel came in, and it was a battle royale, and the feathers flew, and the starling was lucky to leave with its life, I think. In this case, on this nest, after these chicks had fledged and gone, we came back and cleaned out this nest, and buried in the corner here is a complete starling nest. There were a clutch of 4 eggs in there, starling eggs. They were broken. They weren't hatched though. And so I think what happened is a starling came in, built a nest, incubated, and she was evicted again by a kestrel. So we like to see our kestrels win. So one little problem we had. Take a look at this picture and see what's wrong with this picture here. These birds are not on wood chips. There's no nesting material. They're on a bare, dirty board at the bottom of the box. And I think that some of our volunteers were probably a little overzealous when they cut out the corners of the bottom of the box to create ventilation. And as the winter winds buffet these boxes, I think that the wood chips are sifting out through the corner holes. And also the kestrels probably get in there and scratch it around. And anyway, some of our boxes were losing way too many wood chips. So try to imagine yourself standing at the bottom of the box, a pole looking up at the box. This is the bottom of it from the outside. And we're buying hardware cloth, cutting little pieces of it, stapling it on like this to prevent the wood chips from coming out, and yet it still provides the ventilation. We're purposely putting the wire on the outside of the box rather than the inside for fear that the young birds might get their talons caught in the wire. So that is everything I've got for you for kind of a thumbnail sketch of what our project looks like. I want to really thank the Peregrine Fund and the American Kestrel Partnership for bringing us up here, and for the other citizen scientists too to bring us on board and help us learn what's going on in the world of kestrels here.